live from the CNN News 18 and Federal Bank Primetime studio. Now, Delhi's transition from heat wave to flooding has definitely left many wondering exactly what's happening. After experiencing one of the worst heat waves earlier this month and severe scarcity of water in many parts of the national capital, Delhi residents are now dealing with the exact opposite problem of significant waterlogging due to one day of heavy rainfall. Now, Delhi's 88-year-old record, we are being told, has been broken as the city received 228.1 millimeters of rain in 24 hours. The intense downpour resulted in mayhem, causing not only a tragic airport roof collapse, which has claimed one life, it also disrupted flights, blocked underpasses, led to waterlogging and major traffic jams. Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu took stock of the situation at the airport, saying that the Prime Minister is constantly in touch with him and monitoring the situation. But naturally, a political face-off has erupted over that. The opposition slamming the NDA for the state of affairs, not just with respect to the airport, but also of the national capital overall. The BJP, of course, on its part, slams the Aam Aadmi Party for poor infrastructure in the national capital, especially now that they are also in control of the MCD. Frankly, the multiplicity of agencies and powers in the national capital have always made it a fertile ground for political football. But who is really responsible for this Delhi misery that is going from one extreme to the other in a span of weeks, if not days? And what should be done, what can be done to solve this? That's the big question we take to our guests in just a bit. First up, I want to highlight some of the lowlights of the situation today. Very difficult to call these the highlights of the day, but of course, this is what grabbed the headlines one more time. First up, of course, the roof collapse at Terminal 1 at the IGIA. 1 killed and 5 injured as a portion of the roof collapsed on cars, including taxi drivers. Take a look at the Minto Bridge, which of course is the iconic Minto Bridge of the national capital, where one day or 2 days, every time, water gets logged and cars and even a truck gets submerged under this bridge, and nobody really seems to be able to tell us why this happens year on year. Heavy rains have also led to widespread waterlogging in other parts of the city, including the residence of Water Minister Atishi. She's just come back from a hospital visit. Before that, she was on a strike of sorts, a hunger strike of sorts, and she is facing this kind of waterlogging at her house. You can imagine what ordinary citizens are having to go through. SP leader Ram Gopal Yadav was also very worried about the situation around his house. He was actually picked up, carried by his workers and aides from his house to the car so that he can go to the parliament earlier today. Not all of us, of course, have that luxury. Now, a few labourers are fear-trapped under an under-construction wall that collapsed in Delhi's Vasant Vihar area. These are visuals of that area as well. A lot of construction is on at any given time of the year in the national capital. And when it rains and rains badly, it is always very, very risky. You can see rescue and relief workers now in absolutely throat-high water trying to sort out the situation. Now, let's focus also on the Delhi Airport Terminal 1 incident, which has triggered a massive war of words between the opposition and the AAP and the Congress together and the centre. So, first up, let's just bring you some facts that are being talked about. Now, Congress President, of course, has launched an attack against the NDA and particularly the Narendra Modi-led government, saying that PM hurriedly inaugurated this expanded Terminal 1, which was done just before elections, and that is why we are seeing this situation. The centre, of course, says that actually the collapse is not in the building that the Prime Minister had inaugurated. The opposition went on to say that this was done before Model Code of Conduct was opposed, and therefore this was done in a hurried manner, in a haphazard manner, and somebody should take responsibility of that. The government says that this building that has collapsed actually opened in 2009. They specify, of course, the year, because that year falls under UPA era. Heavy rains are causing waterlogging every year in the national capital. The story is no different this time, and politics is playing even on that regard. Let me just break down what the top three parties in the national capital are saying or doing about this. The BJP, of course, is blaming the infra-swaddle of the Aam Aadmi Party for this waterlogging. Aam Aadmi Party has said that it is the corrupt model led by the BJP that led to the T1 roof collapse. That the Congress says that there is the centre's connection with money and scams, and this is all very reflective of that. The BJP, of course, says that this is the model that the Aam Aadmi Party has been able to give to the national capital, and that is why this is happening. Again, on the issue of waterlogging, etc., Aam Aadmi Party says infrastructure is not designed to handle heavy rain. These are rains that are happening in a manner that they're breaking 80-year-old records. Congress again blaming the centre, saying that they have no intention of working sincerely for the national capital. The BJP says that claims of solving Minto Bridge, for example, that Minto Bridge situation that I highlighted, how it becomes the picture perfect or picture imperfect moment for the national capital every year. Those claims fall flat because the Aam Aadmi Party has in the past claimed that they've managed to solve that situation. With that, the big question we ask is simply this. We've seen heat, we've seen water shortage, we're seeing rains and water clogging now. So who's responsible for this Delhi misering, and why is it that we are seeing this year after year?
This was the very spot of tragedy where one person had lost his life due to this very collapse.
Prime Minister Modi ji has personally spoken to me to take charge of the incident and do whatever is necessary.
I'll just try and show you the visuals over here about the rescue operation that is still underway. Two members of the NDRF team along with their life jackets have jumped in to figure out as to where are these people stuck. So there you see the water logging up to an extent that one cannot go and cannot reach to the residence of Water Minister Atishri.
इनकी नीयत में खोट है, इनके मंशा में खोट है, बस पैसे और घोटाला से इनका ताल्लुक है।
128 मिलीमीटर बारिश 24 घंटे में 1936 के बाद पहली बार कल दिल्ली में देखी गई।
यही आम आदमी पार्टी की असली व्यवस्था है। विज्ञापन पर पूरा जोर है, व्यवस्था कमजोर है।
Let's go across to our guests joining us. Ashish Sood from Delhi BJP, Anmol Panwar of the Aam Aadmi Party, Matthew Anthony is joining us from the Congress Party, and Aarti Agarwal is author. Aarti, let me begin with you. You live in the national capital, right? And this is a situation that we've witnessed again and again and again. I know there is multiplicity of powers and demarcation of work that happens in the national capital, but do you think that suffices as an answer to why we have such apathy to what happens in Delhi?
So I think this is the, there's nothing really surprising, first of all, in the response that we are seeing from leaders from every political party. So what we are seeing is a typical passing the buck. A says B is responsible, B says C is responsible, C says A is responsible, and it goes round and round like a merry-go-round. And in the end, what we see is what we see every year. Nothing changes, and the infrastructure of the national capital is crumbling. I mean, this is like just one day of rainfall. It may be a little bit higher than the national average for that particular region, but I mean, rains have only just started. We still have at least 1.5 months more of monsoon left. And I shudder to think of what else is going to collapse, where else we're going to see flooding. From water shortage, we directly went to a roof collapse.
Yeah.
This is like complete apathy, and instead of actually taking any grassroots action, instead of passing the buck from one party to another, what we really need is for somebody to come and say we sacked this person who was responsible for this collapse, and instead we are redoing this part which is crumbling. So see, the
But
thing
you
is,
know,
all
you
these
heard
incidents
what all
happen
the
suddenly.
political parties are saying. They're not even willing to accept that something falls in their domain.
Exactly.
I'll go to them in
Yes.
just a bit. But who do you hold responsible fundamentally? I mean, as a citizen, do you look at the centre more to solve your problems in the national capital, or do you look at your state government? Or
See,
and your
both are
MCD. Now,
responsible.
Aam Aadmi Party is in control both of the state government and the MCD as well.
So this is a problem which has continued unabated from one political party to another. So Congress built it, AAP was supposed to maintain it, they didn't do it. Delhi being the political hub of India and the center, the political hub of the central government also, all three parties are responsible, and that is why nobody does it. It's always somebody else's problem. So which is why instead of, capital of the country being a shining example of good infrastructure for the rest of India, it is the perfect example of where nobody wants to do anything because everybody is responsible.
Yeah. You know, this half-state situation and this situation where Delhi is both a city and a capital and a state, I think some time has come to kind of figure out a solution to this. We cannot quite continue like this. But I'll take those comments at the end. I want to go across to our political representatives first. Ashish Sood, I begin with you because the Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress both have accused the BJP of not doing enough. The BJP-led centre of not doing enough. You've been in power for 10 years, you've been re-elected again. And on a day when a terminal of an airport roof collapses, naturally questions will be asked of the centre authority. Your response first.
Look, the roof collapse is a very serious thing, and we are pained with it. Things are being checked about it, and there are news that the part of the roof which collapsed was inaugurated few years ago. And I don't intend to say, when I say this, I don't intend to say that we are not responsible. The people responsible behind that will be punished, and once the whole thing comes into the whole facts come in the hands. But when we talk about the rains, this is not the only part. And when we say the airport has collapsed, that doesn't mean that the other parties and the other civic bodies can be spared from what is happening in Delhi. This is so pathetic state of affairs, and it has become a kind of a fashion saying that everybody is responsible. When some experts say that everybody is responsible, I call it a fashion because they are not ready to accept the facts. As you said, the corporation is with the Aam Aadmi Party, the Delhi government is with Aam Aadmi Party, the PWD roads are with Aam Aadmi Party, the MCD drains are with Aam Aadmi Party. And what Aam Aadmi Party does, every time when there is a scarcity of water, Haryana doesn't give it. When there is a flood, Haryana sends more water. And moreover, when there is waterlogging in Delhi, it has been after 1936, it is happening for the first time. Administration means you have to preempt the things. You have to plan for what is going to happen in the city during monsoon, and that has to be planned months before the monsoon comes. The summer action plan has to be brought into action. The authorities have to sit together and discuss about how the drains will be cleared, how the water will be made to flow smoothly.
Yeah, but I don't understand why this keeps happening. Desilting of drains is not really some, some high level, thinking is required. These are standard practices. Yes, very quickly, Mr. Sood, I want to go across to Anmol as well.
Yes, what I was trying to say is, Aam Aadmi Party just simply passes the buck.
Passes the buck.
7 months,
has it become fashionable for the Aam Aadmi Party to simply pass the buck? Anmol, on water scarcity, you pass the buck. On pollution, you've passed the buck for 10 plus years. On water logging now, even though you've been in control of the MCD for a year, you are passing the buck. So where does this stop? Then why should anybody, be electing you if after electing you also they keep hearing that somebody else is responsible for that problem?
Shivani ji, first of all, the Aam Aadmi Party extends its deepest condolences and sympathy with the ones who have lost their lives in this collapse of the roof which happened at Terminal 1 International Airport. This is the same terminal which was inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 10th of March. The election were announced on 15th of March, but it was still under construction. But he inaugurated it to gain some political advantage ahead of the elections. And like you said that we are passing the buck. It is not correct, Shivani ji, because as far as water is concerned, water scarcity is concerned, the record states that Haryana government was not releasing the water. And as far as water logging is concerned, in the last 1.5 years, 1.5 days, there has been heavy rainfall. And it is not the Delhi government's data, it is IMD data, which states that for the first time since 1936, 228 mm of rain was recorded in 24 hours.
Okay, but
Delhi
what preparation was done?
Delhi-
I've played out those sound bites
Delhi-
from Atishi as well. What
See,
preparation
Delhi
was
receives-
done now that you're in control of PWD and MCD both? Of what preparation to kind of desilt the drains, make sure that whatever amount of rainfall happens, the city is able to control it. Okay, fine. Right now it's a little bit extraordinary, but waterlogging does happen in the national capital even when the rain levels don't reach extraordinary levels.
Shivani ji, Delhi Urban Development Minister Mr. Saurabh Bhardwaj wrote a letter to the Chief Secretary on June 5th, on June 10th, to directing him to provide the list of drains desilted as of June 10. And this report, and he was again reminded of the situation in the national capital of the last monsoon season. And we have also, there are teams which are working round the clock. All our MLAs, all our councillors are on the ground ensuring that this problem do not affect the lives of people of Delhi. A 24-hour control room has been set up. Orders have been given to check and report whether pumps have been installed at various locations. We have identified more than 200 such spots where waterlogging problem happens, and we are working round the clock to ensure that people do not face any inconvenience.
Okay, Mr. Sood, you wanted to come in very quickly, then I'll go to Matthew as well.
Look, the Aam Aadmi Party representative was talking about IMD data says when the Central Water Commission data about the flow meters installed at Bhavana says that the Haryana is giving complete share of water, they don't believe it. This is so मीठा गप कड़वा थू. भवाना में कहता है जब सेंट्रल वाटर कमीशन की फ्लो मीटर बता रहा है हरियाणा ने 1035 क्यूसेक पानी दिया.
आपके पास फ्लो मीटर है?
अरे भैया, तो तुम्हारी सरकार क्या भुट्टे भून रही है? आम आदमी पार्टी की सरकार भुट्टे भून रही है, फ्लो मीटर नहीं है, तो आप कैसे बता रहे हैं? आप कैसे बता रहे हैं फिर? अगर आप नहीं बता रहे हैं, अगर फ्लो मीटर नहीं है तो किस मुंह से आतिशी बर्लिना झूठ बोल रही है? आतिशी बर्लिना झूठ क्यों बोल रही है? और तुम आम आदमी पार्टी के नेता झूठ क्यों बोल रहे हो? तुम लोग इस्तीफा दे दीजिए. आप लोग सब आम आदमी पार्टी के नेताओं को, आम आदमी पार्टी के सभी, आम आदमी पार्टी के सभी पार्षदों को बिल्डिंग कहाँ बनती है, कहाँ से पैसा लेना है, ये पता चलता है, मगर उनको ये नहीं पता चलता. इसके लिए चीफ सेक्रेटरी की रिपोर्ट चाहिए. आम आदमी के पार्षद को बिल्डिंग बनती हुई, आप झूठ हुई, अगर कंस्ट्रक्शन पता चलती है, सौरभ भारद्वाज के इलाके में कौन सी बिल्डिंग पता बनती है, कहां से कमीशन लेना है, ये विधायक को पता रहता है. मगर ट्रेन सीसीटी की रिपोर्ट चीफ सेक्रेटरी से चाहिए.
एक सेकंड, one second. Can I come in? Gentlemen, one second. On the water scarcity issue, Anmol, my question is, we've discussed this, you've been on the show, we've discussed this a few times. You keep saying Haryana did not release enough water, but if you follow the Supreme Court proceedings, I don't think the Supreme Court has bought that version of yours. You've gone to court exactly saying that. I have not heard the Supreme Court saying that the Haryana has not released its share.
Shivani ji, the Honorable Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh agreed to give 137 cusecs
now you're
of
going to
water
Himachal
Delhi.
Pradesh. No.
But the reason is this will show the intent of Bharatiya Janata
No,
Party.
no, I'm sorry.
didn't
I'm
even
asking you a very pointed question. You went to the Supreme Court with exactly this plea that Haryana is not giving you enough water. As far as I have followed those proceedings, the court has not admonished Haryana for not releasing enough water. So stop saying it.
The court has very categorically time and again said that that it is the responsibility of the Haryana government.
No, have they said Haryana did not release enough water?
They have said that whenever there is shortage of water in Delhi, it is the responsibility of Haryana government to release water to Delhi.
Has Haryana state been penalized for not releasing Delhi's fair share this year? Anmol, Anmol, has Haryana government been penalized by court or asked by court in any way, admonished by court in any way for not releasing Delhi's fair share this year?
The Supreme Court very categorically asked Haryana government that why are you not allowing Himachal Pradesh to release
No, they did not.
To facilitate
the court was told categorically that a meeting of the Yamuna board is going to be called. The Yamuna board is already apprised of Himachal's ability to release more water. That water has not been released. And those discussions have to happen. Don't go to the Himachal portion now. Anmol, listen, I'm being very... Anmol, come on. You know, people are listening to you. I'm being very categorical and asking you very pointed questions. You said Haryana does not release enough water for you. As far as I know, there is no record presented by the Delhi government that has been ratified by the courts. And you went to courts, the Supreme Court. No record has been ratified by the court saying that yes, Haryana did not release your fair share. So you've got to stop saying that. Whether Himachal releases extra water or not.
It is the responsibility of Haryana government to release 1,615
Have they or have they not?
Water. They have not.
They're saying they have and the court has not admonished them.
But the record says...
Which record?
The record which is with the Haryana government as well as with the Delhi government that they are not releasing 100
No, so
LCD of
you
water
have a version
since last
and the
3 weeks.
Haryana government has a version. I'm not taking either of them on face value. One second, I'm not taking either of them on face value. This matter has been in court. The court has neither ratified your version nor has it admonished the Haryana government. I'm wondering if the record says what it says. Already by now, there would have been directions passed. Okay, I want to just, one second. Can I come back to the issue I'm discussing again? Because, you know, this is really what gets irritating for citizens in the national capital. Matthew, I want to come to you. For a second, I want to leave aside the T1 roof collapse. I think that is the responsibility, of course, of IGEI, which is a body in itself, Airports Authority, plus, of course, the central government and the aviation ministry. So I'll come to that in just a bit. But you look at the overall scenario of the national capital, we cannot have a situation where the government in power, the MCD in power keeps saying that, you know, we don't have things in our control. Writing letters, as Anmol is pointing out, to the chief secretary, the bureaucracy in Delhi is hardly sufficient. Matthew, you might have muted yourself.
Yeah.
Go
Shivani,
ahead.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, we offer our condolences to the people who have lost their life, the family of the people, as well as to the ones who have injured. You know, we wish them a fast recovery. I would like to speak on the T1. However, you know, I'll speak on the Delhi thing and then we'll move on to the T1 part of it. Delhi, the national capital, unfortunately, there are too many agencies where the responsibility is getting in between many agencies and nobody is able to take a collective call. The responsibility lies with the state government and the central government. Nobody can escape from it. And, you know, we can have so many technical reasons. But since we have had past experiences of the flood, there should have been consultative discussions between the central government, the state government, and the agencies to have foreseen a lot of things which could have avoided. But, you know, the Pragati tunnel, which I'm realizing that, you know, there is so much of bad planning there, you know, there is not too much of a drainage there. So who is accountable for that? However, and there are so many other agencies who have been put responsible for that one. And when you know that, you know, when there are too many government agencies of both state and the center put together, a dialogue will become next to impossible because There's so much of bureaucracy there and so much of ego tussles there. There was so much of power struggle there. In the end of the day, it is the citizens and the people who are suffering. Today, we have reached, even the VIP houses has got water struggle there and the flood struggles there. However, it needs a proactive approach rather than debating in the TV channel on who did the mistake. We have another 12 months now. Now for this particular flood, we can't do much. We can only do a firefighting, but we can do better for the next one, because the floods are coming in with the rains coming in. The floods are coming as surprise floods. For so many other reasons. It's not just because of the rain alone, because of the drainage system, because of the blockage in the drainage system, because of poor infrastructure planning. So there is a large need of consultation between the state government and the central government and all the stakeholders there, which is not happening.
When Sheila Dikshit ran multiple terms in the national capital, one of the highlights of those terms used to be the infrastructure development in the national capital. And I know for a long time, Congress has blamed the Aam Aadmi Party for no infrastructure development, or certainly not keeping up with that pace and that upkeep. Now you have a certain alliance, and is it because of that the Congress no longer finds fault with what the Aam Aadmi Party's responsibility should be in Delhi?
I would disagree with you in that one. We have an alliance, but that does not stop us from doing a constructive criticism when they are in government. That's why we said that they have the authority to rule the Delhi government and they are in power. There should have been consultative discussions between the state government and the central government. If it was not happening, that should have been brought into the public, and there should have been discussions, public involvement and other stakeholders' involvement to have this mitigated. But now the rainfall is also quite high. So we are saying, we are doing a constructive criticism, because that's what the politics is all about.
Okay, on the terminal thing, the Congress has squarely blamed
I would like to come on that
NDA.
one.
The NDA minister is saying that actually that this is not the part that was inaugurated in March. The part that has collapsed happened or was built way back in 2009. Not that that's an excuse. I don't think an airport roof should collapse in barely 15 years. It should have longevity of much higher number of years. So certainly somebody will be accountable. I believe an FIR has also been registered because one person has lost their lives. But overall, again, is that blame game helping anybody, or do you want constructive criticism in that case as well?
It's not a constructive criticism, Shivani. I'll put a few facts to you. Delhi terminal has got an annual traffic of 72 million people. And you have the whole lot of countries VIP traveling from there. Today it was a taxi driver. What if it was a prime minister movement there? And this happened, anybody who could have controlled this collapse? And now this was a revamp which has happened, and 7,000 crores contract was awarded to L&T. And you also should understand that L&T is the contractor for the Pragati Tunnel, the Atal Setu, and where all of the infrastructure has got an issue right now. And now you also look at it in the last two terms of BJP, there are 458 infrastructure projects which has got a cost escalation of 5.7 lakh crores. Out of that, 127 projects has got 60 months delay a minimum. Now, as the BJP spokesperson earlier said, where is that preventive care? Because when a renewal contract is being given, where is the structural audit which has been taken by the new contractor? Okay. Where is the re-strengthening? Where is the foundation which is happening? So BJP, in their camaraderie, in their photo optics to show that they have done a lot of infrastructure development, they either paced it up or they took money, because L&T was also an electoral bond donor of 80 crores. So where is the question being asked to the contractor?
Okay.
Where is the question being
Mr.
asked?
Sood, can you respond to that? Can you respond to that question on the Delhi airport roof?
Congress has now taken the new political stand of the Congress. The style of the Congress is you peddle lies, like Mr. Matthew is doing it right now. It has to be audited, and a report we have to wait for a report. If in just 15 years a part has collapsed, then who constructed that 15 years ago? Who awarded that contract?
I would disagree here. We should
wait for something. And just Mr. Matthew,
there was an L&T contract for the
you are only peddling lies. Now you
No,
say you
I
don't have
disagree.
an alliance.
It is facts.
You don't have an
It is
alliance.
facts.
You
7,000 crores
you
of
are
contract was given to L&T.
Are you still
And when a
standing
new
with Ajay
company takes a
Bakan's complaint
contract,
against
they take a
Kejriwal?
complete audit
Are
of the
you
building.
still?
They do a
Are you
re-strengthening.
still?
And if they hammer the whole building, then the life of the building is collapsed.
Don't
Okay,
try
one
to
second.
shift
Delhi
the
Can I just
goalpost.
come in? I have
Mr.
limited
Matthew,
time, so I want
Mr.
all of you to
Matthew,
be heard.
Mr.
Yes,
Matthew,
Ashish, so 30 seconds.
Mr.
I know that the bone of contention is that BJP is
Yes.
saying this is not a new roof or not newly constructed or refurbished. The opposition is saying that no, this was inaugurated only in March. Now, of course, we'll need a little bit more time to be able to ascertain exactly which part of the claim is claimed. But Mr. Sood, please respond on the responsibility. Even if it is an old one, there is a responsibility.
Yes, as you said, we should give some time for few hours to find out how and why and where it has happened. People will be booked. But Congress has developed a new style. You peddle lies. Like he was saying, no, we are not with Aam Aadmi Party. We are again condemning them for not building infrastructure. They are with them. Is Congress still standing with Ajay Bakan's complaint on the excise policy? No, they are hand in glove. They are shameless political parties. Both Aam Aadmi Party and Congress are shameless political parties.
Okay.
They are not. They are today. It is taking 5 hours from Dhaula Kuan for coming to Janakpuri and western part of the Delhi. They are for their own petty political interests. Congress has developed a style to just peddle lies.
Okay.
They peddle lies.
I think the public is quite fed up of this. They just want a solution to
that.
something like this, which has just gone on for 10 plus years now. And yes, you do have to accept that post Sheila Dikshit years, this has become a greater fashion or a bigger fashion of this confrontation between Delhi government and centre government or Delhi and Lieutenant Governor. That was not a factor that used to dominate Sheila Dikshit's government. It does dominate the Aam Aadmi Party dispensation. Aarti, I've got barely 20 seconds. Do you think it's time to resolve? Do you think it's time to resolve the multiplicity? I think that either the state, Delhi is a full state or not. Either it goes completely with the central government's kitty or it goes completely to a state government's kitty.
So I think that clarity needs to come in, because my next point was going to be that I just want to know which government, which official is going to give us a report with some level of granularity instead of just this shouting and screaming and so is lying and so is bad. We are fed up of that. As a concerned citizen, I have every right to criticize every government, and just because citizens express their criticism, they cannot be just shut down with so is lying and so is bad.
Yeah, it's not our job actually also beyond a point. It's not a citizen's job to figure out who is lying or not. Agencies can come and say, governments can come and say a lot of things, and even for journalists it is not always possible to figure out whether so-and-so's data is the most accurate or so-and-so's figure is the most appropriate. So this has become a mind-boggling situation. Exactly.
So, Shivani, I want to know who's going to give that technical report
of the airport roof. You mean
the specifics? Yes, of the airport roof.
I think that will come from the central government.
And which corrupt official was responsible for the reason for this collapse? Because this kind of a collapse is a massive threat. We don't know which other roof is going to collapse. If
You're absolutely
that particular
right.
construction company has built something else, we need to check all their constructions
Absolutely.
and all those contracts and all those tenders. Which government is going to give us that information?
Delay citizens are facing today in Delhi. Are you keen to have a report on that also? Who is responsible for water logging? Who did not clear the
Yes, of course. I want a report on all of that. What is there to ask me whether I want a report on it or not? Mr. Sood, that question should not be coming from you at all. I have, as a citizen, as a taxpaying citizen, I have a right to ask for that report.
All right. I've run out of time. I do thank our guests for joining us, but really I think it is palpable to understand what the citizens of the national capital are feeling. If they at least felt there is an agency or a government they can go to who's responsible or accepts the responsibility for what they have problems with, then it would still be easier. Slipping into a very short break. On the other side, we switch gears. We'll get on to the cricket pitch. It's India versus South Africa in the T20 World Cup final tomorrow. Can India break the final jinx? That's the big question in the country's mind. We'll be back with more. Well, it's another final to look forward to as far as the Indian cricket team, the men in blue, are concerned. They've advanced to the T20 World Cup 2024 final in the Windies now after beating England by an overwhelming 68 runs. And now the men in blue will take on South Africa at the Kensington Oval in Barbados. All eyes are on this mega clash because both of these teams have remained unbeaten throughout the tournament. India is making it to the championship match for the first time since 2014 in this format. Remember, they won, of course, the inaugural T20 World Cup in 2007, incidentally, in South Africa. Now, there could not be two more contrasting teams that are meeting for the final as far as the 2024 version is concerned. Take a look at the history behind both of these teams. That is going to make a difference as far as their mental makeup is concerned as well. So, India has been part of 12 ICC event finals before, including many others, barring the World Cup, but this is also their 7th ICC World Cup final. So I'm talking about T20s and ODIs. South Africa, on the other side, have made it to their very first Men's World Cup final, ODI or the T20 International. But India has another type of ghost to exercise, which is of losing ICC trophy finals in regularity. They've now lost the last 5 ICC event finals that they were part of, including, of course, the Test Championship. On the other hand, South Africa was barely even making this stage. As I said, they have had the ghost of losing 2 T20 World Cup semis and 5 ODI World Cup semis as well. But here's another thing to keep in mind. Both sides are unbeaten in the tournament. India has managed 7 wins so far, but South Africa have managed 8 consecutive wins, and this is the joint longest streak in the format now. Let's also take a look at India's T20 World Cup record against South Africa, which has seen some intense battles over the years. Here's a quick summary of their head-to-head encounters as far as this tournament is concerned. So the first one, the inaugural World Cup, was held in South Africa 2007, which India won. In that tournament, India won against the home team by 37 runs. In 2009, South Africa got a revenge by 12 runs in Nottingham. And India then went on to win the next 3 encounters that they have played. The 2010 one by 14 runs. In 2012, they won by only 1 run in Colombo. That match happened, tournament, of course, happened in Sri Lanka, if we can move forward as far as our graphics is concerned. And of course, their most recent meeting in the T20 World Cup was way back in 2014, when India won by 6 wickets in Dhaka. So this is their first meeting as far as this tournament stage is concerned in 10 years. Overall, in T20 international cricket, India and South Africa have faced each other 26 times since 2007. India has a slight upper hand, winning 14 of those matches, losing 11. One had no result. But this is where it all rests. The fact is, India haven't won an ICC event trophy in over 10 years now. They faced defeat in the 2023 ODI World Cup. Can they finally break that final jinx? We're joined by experts with us in just a bit to answer exactly that question, but also listen in to what kids in Mumbai have to say. Remember, our captain Rohit Sharma hails from Mumbai, and he would be looking for some relief from all of those drought questions this time around.
Despite a rain-washed match, India's victory over 68 runs over England has gotten people in India excited, especially for tomorrow's finals. In fact, we of course expected Men in Blue to get back World Cup, but now all eyes are on the T20 World Cup. What is your wish for Men in Blue right now?
I think India should win, and I think it will win.
Okay, and who is your favorite player?
In batting, Rohit Sharma, and in bowling, Jasprit Bumrah.
What are your expectations from tomorrow's match?
He hasn't performed well, but I think he should perform well in tomorrow's match.
What are the runs that you're expecting from Virat Kohli?
I think above 30 score will be nice.
Above 30 would be nice. आपके favorite player कौन है? Indian cricket team से आपका क्या expectation है?
मेरा फेवरेट प्लेयर रोहित शर्मा है, और सिर्फ रोहित शर्मा से नहीं, पूरे इंडियन टीम से मुझे एक्सपेक्टेशन है कि वो जीतेंगे, कब घर लाएंगे.
Let me go across to Deep Das Gupta, former India cricketer, and Jamie Alter, sports journalist and commentator, joining us on the show. I do thank you both for your time. Deep, let me begin with you. A lot needs to be spoken about as far as the history of the teams is concerned. As I mentioned, you've got India that is very, very regular at ICC tournament finals. They've made the Test T20 ODI World Cup finals recently now. And you've got South Africa on the other side that is in its first ICC World Cup final. So just how do you see that? How do you see the mental makeup of both the teams?
I think very different. Like you said, on one side, you've got India, which has been consistent, finalist. Like you mentioned, the WTC, then the 50 overs, and in general as well over the years. South Africa, so that makes South Africa a clear-cut underdog to a great extent, because the fact that they're playing their first ICC finals, so that makes them that much more dangerous if they are, thinking on those lines, as in, we are going in there as underdogs, nothing to lose. On the other hand, you've got India, who are clear favorites, to be honest, for these finals. From that perspective, I think to a certain extent, it would be pressure on India, and South Africa would be kind of unshackled, provided they're thinking like that. You never know. It could be the other way around as well.
No, so let's talk a little bit more about the Proteas' mindset. How do you approach a final like this, having been called chokers for so many years, despite the talent that you have had? So if you were in the dressing room as a player or as the coaching staff, how do you approach a final like this, Deep?
For me, I guess the first thing I'd say is, listen, you got nothing to lose. Looking at this whole environment where, the conditions are favors India, history favors India. There's so many things. Just name it. It's kind of stacked in India's favor to that extent. So for South Africa, it's got nothing. They've got nothing to lose. Just go out there, have fun, enjoy yourself. And they've got quality cricketers. From a very cricketing perspective, and leave aside the mental side of it and the psychological side of it. But if you look in from a cricket point of view, they've got a really good bowling side as well. Like India, might not be as potent as India, but if there is a bowling unit which is as rounded as India's, would be South Africa. They've got good seamers. You've got, Mahajan, Keshav Maharaj, who's a brilliant left-arm spinner. Shamsi is doing well, and when I'm looking at their batting middle order, especially, I know they haven't really scored a lot of runs, which this tournament's been like that. It hasn't been a tournament for batters. But it seems like South Africa has got the best middle order to play the Indian spinners in these conditions, namely Klaasen, David Miller, Tristan Stubbs, Markram. And it's not that these four have played enough of these Indian spinners in Indian conditions in the IPL. So they are a good side, and let's not forget they are unbeaten like India as well.
Yeah, yeah. Jamie, how do you look at it? Will South Africa be able to play that free cricket that, oh, we've got nothing to lose, as Deep is suggesting, or will the occasion be a little bit too heavy in their minds? And alternatively, how does India handle the ghost of not having won an ICC trophy in 11 years now?
That's a very good question. Look, I mean, I think it can be argued, and I'm sure Deep will agree here. There's no two more desperate teams, Shivani, to win an ICC trophy. I mean, yes, South Africa many will say, have sort of erased, 32 years of playing when it comes to World Cup. They haven't won it, but Markram's team has become the first men's team to get to a final. That in itself, I'm sure, has given countless cricket fans back in the Rainbow Nation a lot of joy. But when you stack it up against what other teams have achieved, Australia, India, even the West Indies have won this twice, they still don't have that trophy. 98 was when they won the first Champions Trophy.
Yeah.
Many cricket fans in South Africa won't even remember that, because it was a tournament that was not supposed to be big.
Yeah.
It was sort of created to boost associate nations, and it happened in Dhaka against West Indies, So against all that, exactly like Deep said, I'll agree with him. They don't have anything to lose, but then again, they've gone where no team from South Africa has ever gone. I agree with Deep. The bowling is second only to India, but Shivani, South African teams have always had great bowling attacks. They've always had great fielding sides, and they've had much better batsmen than this. So there is that question in a low-scoring World Cup against a top team like India, also unbeaten, a team that has gotten to many finals, hasn't won. Does that middle order have what it takes, like Deep mentioned, to crack India? Yes, but then again, you look at Akshar, you look at Kuldeep. Kuldeep had to wait 4 matches to get his chance. He, like Dubey, was picked for the matches in the West Indies, and the guy's taken 10 wickets in 3 matches, going at under 6 and over. It's going to be South Africa's biggest test. They've knocked off, Nepal by 1 run, Bangladesh 3 runs. They've done brilliantly to get here. But for me, with obviously the India bias aside, their biggest test is not just being in the final, it's coming up against Bumrah, Akshar and Kuldeep, to my mind.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Indian bowling and just how brilliantly it has performed. But I do want Deep's thoughts on this as well. A lot has been said, Deep, about the new T20 mindset of the Indian team, right? I was in Australia when they lost to England in that semi-final, and that is being seen as the tipping point of a change around as far as the T20 mindset is concerned. We've got a lot of players, including the captain, who has lost ICC finals under him, and a lot of players for whom this might be the final opportunity, if not in this format, in World Cups completely. So how do they handle that pressure, that ghost of not winning a title?
See, what has been really refreshing as far as the Indian team is concerned is their approach towards T20 cricket, which I thought the last game against England came a full circle. It was against England in 2022 in Adelaide, when I think Rohit and the team realized, the way we play T20 is not good enough. We need to change, and they have changed. So there is a huge difference in the Indian T20 side, maybe a couple of years ago from now. They're playing a lot more fearlessly. And I thought, and especially looking at the semis against England, I thought maybe semi-final, let's see now, in a knockout situation, do they still play the same with the same method, and which they did. So I think that makes a huge difference in terms of the mindset. If you're going in there with that mindset, irrespective of what happens, we're going to play this form of cricket, and I think that will help in the long run. It has already changed how batters are playing, even though these aren't very high scoring conditions, but you still, when you look at these batters, even if India loses 2-3 wickets, you still have Hardik and Surya coming and playing freely. So I think that would have a domino effect in terms of whatever has happened in the past and how much the Indian team's thinking about this final.
And Jamie, you've also got Rahul Dravid, whose contract is coming to an end, isn't it? So this is a swan song of sorts for him too.
Absolutely. I love that quote he gave, in which he used the analogy of one of the mountaineers was asked, why do you want to climb Everest? He said, because it's there, and the same question. I understand, having been part of many press conferences, I understand sometimes these questions which we journalists ask can grate on the minds of cricketers, but I thought Rahul Dravid handled it very well. He said, we want to win it because it's just there, and it's so simple, but I think it gives, Deep has played with Rahul, so he'll know far more. It just sort of says maybe the calmness which he's sort of made peace with. It's been a rocky tenure. Yes, under the Dravid Rohit combo, they've got to many finals, but the fact remains they still haven't won. I know there's an Asia Cup, but let's get real. We Indian fans and journalists, we want the ICC trophy to come home. And I believe now finally, maybe it's because he knew my contract's not being renewed. Maybe that's played a fact. I absolutely agree with what Deep said, that awareness or the acceptance that, it's 2022 and we're falling behind lower ranked teams. I think Dravid's had a big part in that. And I hope that India wins for Rohit. I think on November 19th is a blot he desperately needs to erase, because the heart just went out to him. So selfless throughout that campaign. So I hope, of course, I hope everyone, but I hope for Rahul Dravid, for Rohit Sharma, for Virat Kohli, and also a word on Jasprit Bumrah. I think 90% of India's success has been the bowling, of which, there's no better bowler than Jasprit Bumrah.
Yeah, there's not much left to say as far as our Indian bowling is concerned. We know they're world class, they're the best possibly, and death's over. Specialty for both Bumrah and Ashpreet. All of them have done really well. And then, of course, we've got that middle over bowlers that Jamie and you were talking about. But so let me talk about the batting, which is where we've seen the hiccups. Before I go to Deep on this, Jamie, what do you think about the Virat Kohli question? Does it need to be addressed? Should he go back to number 3? Maybe Pant opens instead?
I have been one of the more vocal people to have said yes, but Shivani, when you're 7-0, you don't
change. Okay.
Yes, it's been a very tough World Cup, like Deep mentioned, for batsmen. The New York leg was very tough. Only a couple Indian batsmen and even South African batsmen were able to sort of score runs there. But again, we moved to the West Indies. Not ideal, Shivani, but it's gotten better. I look at the two openers who are probably on their last legs as T20 cricketers. They're both playing the same role, Shivani. They've both bought in, and it's fantastic to even accept that they bought into that mentality. But the point is, one of them has 250 runs at 43 at a strike rate of 156. One has the lowest average for any Indian opener in any history, and he's struggled. I like the fact that Virat Kohli has not taken the easier route, which would have been to sort of buy time. He has bought in 100% as I see it, but the runs haven't come. It's a problem, but Shivani, when you're in the World Cup unbeaten, it's one more match. Whether he scores or not, I frankly don't care, because the team is unbeaten. And yes, he's not had a massive role to play, but he's bought in. And for someone of that stature to put aside the ego and buy into the team mentality, I think that's very commendable.
Yeah, I think they've given him a role and he's bought into that role. And they're kind of moving ahead from having to rely on one or two names in the middle order, especially to deliver for you. A quick fire knock at the top, possibly more valuable than a 50 from Virat Kohli. I think that's the mentality from the team right now. So I see Deep nodding. So Deep, I want to ask you the other question then. What about the Shivam Dube question? Because that's the other spot that is being discussed. Now we've got replacements in the squad that can come in and can play the role that he's expected to play. So do you think that may be a change that the Indian team could look at, or as we all possibly are expecting, the final may not be the occasion where they will make any changes?
I don't think there'll be any changes, Shivani, to be honest. I think India has been unbeaten. Yes, Shivam has quietly got into that role because these conditions are very alien to what Shivam Dube is known to do. Right? He's more of a batter who would come into those middle overs, especially against spin, and hit those big sixes. But this World Cup has not been about sixes. So it's been very different in terms of conditions. And Shivam, last two games, I mean, not the England one, but Australia and before that, he's played those, cameos, which is what is expected of him. It's not expected of him to get 70, 80. What is expected is those cameos. Yes, you can say you were expecting more, But I believe there won't be any changes. Should go with the same 11. Give those guys the confidence. Shivam Dubey might have a big role in taking down someone like, Keshav Maharaj during the middle overs. Keshav's been absolutely brilliant for South Africa. So a left-hander in that middle order, Rishabh and him, might have a role to play, not just Keshav Maharaj, but also against Shamsi.
All right. Since I do have you, let me ask you about the bowlers. They've been brilliant, of course. Not much that hasn't been said so far. Death over bowling is absolutely fantastic. Any mini matchups that you're looking forward to? Because this is also a South African batting lineup, as you said, which is the most explosive in the middle overs. So any mini matchups between the larger contests that you're looking forward to, Deep?
That's a really interesting one. So obviously, I mean, a lot of people ask which phase would be important. Listen, it's a 20-over game, so all phases are important, right? It's not a test match or something. So every phase is important. But the key matchups, as you rightly mentioned, for me would be, as I mentioned before, that middle order and Indian spinners. Again, namely Klaasen, Miller, Markram, and Christian Stubbs against the three Indian spinners. So that would be a very, very crucial matchup. And we're talking about Barbados. Barbados day game. Okay, the reference point would be India versus Afghanistan, even though India got 181, but I thought India scored 15 or 20 more than par. So that was still a 160, 165 kind of a pitch. So Barbados, even though it has been comparatively high scoring, but during a day game, so 165. So there would be some help for the spinners. So I think that matchup becomes very, very crucial, that middle order, the South African middle order, the Indian spinners. And obviously, right at the top, the other important batter that you got to be mindful of, the South African batter, would be Quinton de Kock. I mean, he's a match winner, right? And obviously, we have Bumrah. So, I mean, goes without saying. I mean, Bumrah is an absolute legend. He's a once-in-a-generation talent. And yeah.
All right. Just enough time for final comments. Jamie, what does your heart tell you? Can India do it this time?
Heart always says yes. It's the mind.
Okay, what does your mind tell you?
No, the mind. No, I think this is that rare instance where again, I'm not undermining South Africa. Second best bowling attack after India, but the heart and mind are now aligned. Unlike November 19th, and I think it's India's World Cup. 11 years is for us Indian fans. It's as long as 32 years for South Africa. So, bahut ho gaya. I think it's going to be a good day in Barbados.
Right. Deep, what do you feel? What's your gut telling you?
I think the drought on 29th, as in tomorrow, we might see that drought being over as far as ICC silverware is concerned. I think this team has worked hard. It was so heartening and emotional to see Rohit's pictures post that England game. And that just says a lot what it has taken for him, the whole team, last 2 years to change the whole mindset of the players, the system. I mean, a lot of credit to that team management, the players, anyone like the selectors and everyone else who's been part of that, because they've also changed the way we kind of think about T20 cricket. We are now saying, you know what, a 20 ball 30 is job done, is a job well done, rather than, getting stuck into age-old notions about those milestones. So, it was really, really good to see how Indian team has come about doing their job in last 2 years. And I hope, and I'm quite confident.
Okay.
I'm quietly confident that droughts are getting over.
Right. I'll leave it on that note. Good note to end on. Deep and Jamie, thanks a lot for joining us. Well, this is going to be the true test, isn't it, of the new brand of T20 cricket that everybody's been talking about India playing. You've got to win titles with that. Thanks a lot for watching. Goodbye for now.
Go powered by This is CNN News 18 and Federal Bank Primetime Studio.
Good evening, you're watching The Hard Facts with me, Poonam Burde. We're coming to you from the CNN News 18 Federal Bank Primetime Studio. The National Capital Region woke up to cooler temperatures, thunderstorm and a heavy downpour. While the mercury dipping was a respite, that was pretty much where it stopped. Because for many Delhiites, stepping out of their homes meant stepping into knee-deep water. Vehicles